Hey you, Jane here. Thanks so much for tuning in to Applegate's Edge, powered by Exit Zero Communications. We're so excited. This is a new project for our company, and we're going to be doing forensic deep dives. We're going to be peeling back the curtains to see what's going on in the magic that is events. And we're going to be talking about marketing. We're going to be talking about sponsorship and all things that make events successful. Because when we help you make events successful, then we can Jane it forward. So today, we're so excited because we have a special guest, Darren Lee Harrison. And I know Darren as a videographer, he's a director, he's a producer, he's an actor, he's a singer, he's a character, and now he's a realtor. So today, thank you, Darren, for joining us. We're so excited to have you here on the Egg. Yeah, I know. So, yeah.
I know.
So, Darren.
Yes.
I've explained how I know you. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, raised as a young girl at the age of 6 and 7 and 8, I found my way. No, I grew up in Indianapolis. Was doing theater all the time. Always running around with a camera in my hand, a VHS camera. My dad was a big VHS camera guy. We had the first VHS machine. It was like, the size of a boat anchor. And my uncle said, this acting thing you're doing is great, but wouldn't you like to maybe hire the actors down the road? I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And he goes, well, why don't we get you back to college and go into television? Because I think that would be great. Yeah. And before you know it, I did. He literally sent me back to college after doing 2 years of 5 other things with college, but no direction. So did that. Did my master's down there at IU Bloomington after that in television production management and broadcast management and research. One of the cable networks today is named because our research department did the research to figure out what it should be. So American Movie Classics, AMC, came from our little IU our research department.
The confab at the research,
Like back then, one of my professors who was on the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, he said, okay guys, now listen, there's this thing, they're calling it a cell phone. Motorola is probably going to be on the head end of this, so I'm just saying now, I get stock if you're into that, but this cell phone thing could be big. So, and that's what we got, in college. Anyway, so.
I think you revealed your age there, but I'm not really sure.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
So, Darren, we met because I worked at a video production company. I was in sales and then produced up to the point where the videographers took over, basically. So we had a lot of yang in our past relationship because obviously you're the creative and I'm the suit.
I'm still getting shots for that, by the way.
Yeah, and we're
yin yang is really.
So anyway, we did so many projects together. I mean, literally hundreds of serving different clients and television commercials. We did training videos. We did corporate marketing pieces. We did videos for big events. We did award celebrations. I mean, I don't think there wasn't a thing that we didn't record audio or video about.
Right. Well, and not only that, but we would be sent off to be the prime production crew where we'd hire 35 other people to come in and help us. Yep. And we were in charge of covering an entire conference for a week at a resort.
Right.
And we'd set up an entire editing suite. Back in the day, that was all big machines. I mean, big machines. And we set up entire editing, entire hotel rooms would take over.
Yes.
It's crazy. But no, we did. The thing that I think is fascinating as to what we did and what you're doing now is that you'd be faced with a client runs into you and say, we've been thinking about doing commercials, we just don't know what to do. And you go, well, it's funny, that's what I do. And so they tell you their problem and what their objective is. And then you would figure out a way to talk about concepts and things that would serve that and just to try to keep them, interested and on the path. And then you would come to me and we would sit down and talk about the concepts of what would solve that. And then we come up with a plan. One of us would write the script or somebody else would, but either way, then that went into production. And now we're producing the thing that's going to drive, so to speak, butts in the door and correct the foot traffic. Or if the thing is they need them to call to make an appointment, or if it's a drive-through special, who knows? I mean, whatever. We had to figure out how to tell them what to do. And when I say them, the audience. Right. The audience is on our side. They'll do what we ask them to do.
Yes.
And honestly, that is exactly what you have now parlayed into an extended career of impressions and mass communication and social media communication and all the tons and tricks of the trade that are your bread and butter in terms of getting people to an event, managing the event, and then getting other people, friends and family, and all the church-going people all coming to the event. But you got to figure out what that special one thing is that's going to trick someone's trigger to go, well, we should go down there tonight or today. And so message, transmission of message, and acceptance of message is the only thing we've ever done.
Right.
So when we talk about that we're really good at this, or that, you know, trust me on this as your project and your process gets bigger and bigger and bigger, they don't know that this is all you've done every day for decades.
Yes.
Whereas they may have just gotten the job as the marketing director or creative director or whatever last month, and before that they were a realtor. Who knows?
Right.
But the point is, they may not be specialized for decades. They just may be in charge of a budget. Well, half of them don't even know how to separate a budget yet because they just got there, you know, and the other people aren't sure, you know, do I trust her? She wants to invest $30,000 in this thing. Well, actually, you're one of the few people that can make a case why that $30,000 is going to turn into far more than $30,000 in return.
Yes.
And customer awareness, and the fact that you're now the lead sponsor for a thing that's coming back next year. Now, you may not be able to afford a billboard at the back of a baseball field, but by golly, you can put your name on on a T-shirt and have that T-shirt worn by 50,000 people around town during a walk-run, you know, fundraiser or whatever.
Oh my gosh, you don't even know this, but when we founded Fort Wayne Regional Maker Fair, we didn't have a dollar. You know, we didn't have a building. Nobody knew what a maker was, but we were creating an event that would be the forum for the makers to come together and show off and share, and then we would invite the public to observe how they make.
I think, just for the sake of our audience here, I'm going to help you out here. Would you please explain what a maker is?
Oh, yeah. So a maker is, you know, artists are creatives, right? I mean, Darren is a creative. I am not a creative. I'm a creative person, but I am not a creative. Makers, to me, are those people. A lot of folks would think of a maker as someone who's more of a digital person, a digital geek. To me, a maker is that person who has to get up at 2:00 in the morning and solve a problem, whatever that problem might be. It could be about weaving, or it could be about digital technology, or it could be about welding, or whatever the case.
Okay.
So that is what a maker is.
Okay.
And we created a unique event, part of the Maker Fair franchise, right? And so, so.
All right, and so what happened there? Was it how many vendors did you have, or participants, and then how many people showed up over how many days?
Yeah, so it was a 2-day event, and then like our first year we had over 2,000 attendees participate, even though no one knew what a maker was, right? I mean, so and the makers, you can't find them. I mean, they don't even know they don't describe themselves as a maker a lot of times. So we had to educate them, find them, then communicate with them, etc. And then we ended up having guests from 8 states, and we had over 70 zip codes represented. Which is huge.
This is what she does, gang.
That's what I do.
She pulls people together, creates events. But let's say that the event is already something that you want to do, but you just haven't figured out the mechanics. This is why Jane shines. Ultimately, that's why we're chatting, is to share good news about, you know, across the board on creative enterprises and branding and communications. But in the end of the day, you need somebody to spearhead that with decades of a background, as opposed to, I really like doing it.
Right. And, you know, for me, it's all about the service. It's the promise that I make as a salesperson to the client, whether it's, you know, we're going to help you create that commercial, who's going to solve that problem, who's going to achieve that goal, whatever the case. And so it creates tension between the suit side, if you will, and the creative side. But, you know, I can't produce a commercial. And Darren can sell, but he's kind of unique. A lot of the creatives can't actually sell too.
Sure, yeah, we're just technicians. Technicians.
They're you know, some people call them button pushers, you know, and I call them the geeks, but you know, I love the geeks because the geeks help me get my projects accomplished. You know, amen to the geeks.
Right.
Anyway, so
you can almost always look at a guy for whatever reason, with a dark T-shirt, a guitar on it, really kind of long hair out
Maybe
of place,
yeah.
and you know he's an audio guy.
Yeah,
You just know he's an
audio guy.
You know he's an audio guy. It just
Anyway, the point was that, I, as the salesperson, oftentimes throughout my career, whether it was telephone systems or, video communications or whatever, it really is about, making a promise. Client, you have a problem. I'm selling you on that. I can help you solve that.
Right.
And then I want to fulfill that promise, and so that's super important to me in how I've run my business. And Applegate's Edge, it's a filter, a personal success filter that I use to create projects, if you will. And I don't accept every project that comes to me because it may not be a good fit, it may not be a good client or whatever. But the whole point of Applegate's Edge is that we want to energize our clients, yours or our clients' vision, dreams, goals, whatever, and then we'll intentionally design profitable strategies for growing those events and elevating your business ideas into the future. So that's partly why we're Applegate's EDGEcast today, and because we hope that people will work with us, get the edge, be successful in their personal lives or their professional lives, and creating events and because when people have the right tools and they have the confidence, then there's no fear. So my goal is to help people overcome their fear by giving them good content, good information, good tools, and then hopefully they can go then and create their events or tell their story or do with whatever they want with the information they learn. But then when they're successful, I'm successful, and that's what I'm about, and that's how people can gain it forward. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting when we. Back in the day when everybody were doing newsletters, so they were typing them out, they were taking them to the printer, and then they were sending them out in the mail.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? And then this thing called...
just a couple days, or a couple years after typesetting.
And then comes along this computer that allows you to have, oh my gosh, it is eliminated the typewriter and also most of the printing and the mailers, because now all the emails come off that. So they thought that computers were the demise of almost the print industry and or the hardcore mail industry. So let's jump fast forward. Now everybody has an iPhone or another smartphone. So everybody's a cameraman.
Yeah, everybody's a professional.
Everybody's a producer, director, cameraman.
Yes.
And if they aren't, they want to be.
Yes.
So, but what happens is that ABC person at company one has a conversation with their boss, and they go, "Oh, we want to do this event in the summer, and so who do you know that we could shoot some footage for?" "Oh, my cousin. He's really good with his iPhone." "Really? Is that all we need?" "Oh, yeah, that's all we need." Okay, seriously. So suddenly everybody, but the cousin, unfortunately, shot into the sun 2 or 3 times too many times and couldn't see the people, and he felt bad. He felt bad. Now comes along. Flip that switch the other way and go, we got to take care of this this project, and says, what do we need to do? Well, we need to have, a few smart people on this board to plan it. This is not one thing, but it's not my specialty.
Right.
Hello, I'd like to introduce Jane Applegate. This is the thing. So what we're saying is that you and I have, tens of thousands of hours in this business,
literally
solving problems, getting eyeballs and stuff, getting people to events, getting people to the business to make the business better, to continue advertising and training and marketing with us, right?
Right.
But most people take the shortcut because, like a realtor, my business now as a real estate, I can sell my own home. I can do it. How hard can it be?
Yeah.
And I ain't paying you.
FSBO for sale by owner.
I ain't paying you. Why should I pay you? Well, because I'm going to make you a lot more money than you're going to make, and you're going to lose more money than you think, and you're not going to know it.
Right.
So the same thing goes along with a corporate event. They're not going to know how good it could have been, how many people really should have shown up. They're just going to feel good and pat themselves on the back because 50 people showed up, and a lot of people said, "I loved it. It was great." Right. No one's going to tell you, "I hated it. It sucked."
Right.
No, I'm not coming back.
Wait. Recently, you told me a story that I hadn't heard about, where you did a series of video, telesales on. Oh gosh, I don't even know. Telesales. And you did a series of videos on a man and his dolls. Can you talk about that?
Ha! Oh, golly.
It's crazy funny.
Well, okay, so one of my advertising, she knows him as well. One of our advertising cohorts in the business, owned his own agency. He somehow, a truck broke down and he bought something like 600 fancy dolls with the long blonde hair and the kind of creepy eyes and the perfect little dress, and they're all the same, but they're like, $200 dolls apparently.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, they were
gosh.
the real deal. And he was going to sell them on like a QVC kind of thing for like $79, $49, something like that. And so we do this whole shoot with the gal going, look at her beautiful blonde hair. See how that goes? The light just shimmers off of it. And this dress, it's good material, folks. Your daughter's going to love. I mean, we talked about this doll as if it was a Ferrari. And at the end of the day, we didn't sell any. Not a single doll.
I mean, my heart breaks. My heart breaks for this guy. I mean,
I think he gave them away at some point because no one would buy them. It was just one of those things that weird timing, mistake. He got a hold of a product. He tried to sell it. And he didn't have a plan. He didn't have a marketing.
He didn't have an audience.
He didn't have the audience. He didn't have a marketing plan.
Yep.
He didn't have a price point that he knew would sell.
Yep.
And he didn't have the distribution. All he did was put it on television. And after about a week and about $1,500 worth of airtime, and you're not making any money, you get really skittish about week 2. But you booked it, so we'll try to week 2 and realize nothing.
Was there
works.
a price drop maybe involved in week 2, perhaps? I'm guessing? I don't know.
There was a price drop, and then it was off the air. Yeah. So even when you think that all the things are in place, it's going to be the person with decades of experience, and especially in that area, that are going to get the dolls to the person that needs it.
Right.
That I brought it back.
Right.
I looped around.
He circled back. So yeah, it just, again, it goes back to messaging. It goes back to the problem. And the problem was somebody lost some dolls. This guy bought them and he was trying to figure out how to sell them. Mm-hmm. Now he came up with his own solution, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's a marketing guru and he knew what he was doing. And then he hired a professional, but unfortunately, without knowing other than I need to sell some dolls. He didn't have the plan. He didn't have the communications. He didn't have the audience, and he wasn't successful.
And he didn't bring together a large crew of professionals in different areas, because that's one of the things you do. When you have an event, you've got probably a dozen different pockets of personnel needs, right?
Absolutely.
Some require stuff, some require power, some require advanced planning, and others require God knows what you're going to have to hang or create or just arriving with their goods.
Right. Not to mention just providing the service to the attendees, to the participants. Because to me, a successful event is not just about the attendees left and saying, I want more. It's about everyone who participated. From the sponsor to the media who are sharing it, because they've got some skin in it too. If they're saying it's a great event and they get they're getting you there, they've got some skin in whatever.
I mean, there's almost always get some media outlet to provide some level of service, and they love exclusivity. But the thing is, you got to have the relationships with those stations and those publications to get the free or the quick little notoriety on the air or a blurb about the community events. A lot of people in marketing don't have those relationships, and so what they do is they don't even think about that. Or they make one call to one place. I got a radio station. Now you can get like mass media coverage.
Absolutely, you can.
And that's what you've done in the past, and that's what people should do. But it's just not just radio and TV. Obviously, we're talking about the mass communications network we're dealing with now.
Absolutely.
I mean, it involves mailers at times, or a thing in the paper or whatever. I mean, it's you got to check off all the boxes. And if you don't check off all the boxes, usually you're going, well, that was nice. We'll do better next year. How about blow it out this year? Call Applegate.
Thank you. Well, I mean, Maker Faire, for example, and by the way, what Darren has described about working with the media and not actually paying for media time, that's called earned media. And the media outlets are looking. Obviously, there's news 24/7, and there's so many different outlets now. They're looking for media, and they're looking for exclusivity, but they're also wanting to buy into the feel good message of a project. And so again, with Maker Faire, and this is now a few years back, we actually, a way to engage the media was we had a race as part of our event where we took modified kids' vehicles, and then then adults would race them because they were too dangerous for the kids to ride them because they went up to 40 miles an hour. And so we invited the media outlets to participate, and they each sent anybody that was interested. They sent a reporter in who then raced at the race, and then every one of them brought cameras, right? Because their media people are doing something that you typically would not do on a given day, and that's ride a 40-mile-an-hour kid's car. Okay, and it was so much fun. And then we also actually threw the same challenge out to our community leadership, and so our mayor actually raced with us one day. Now, he did wipe out and flip off the back of the vehicle, and I was threatened by the city management to, not kill our mayor again. But, it is what it is. He had a great time, and he wanted to come back as well. So everybody had a good time. And I think my mother actually paid me the biggest compliment of my entire life when it came to Maker Faire. Now, my mom and I, we're not on the same page on pretty much anything. But she came and supported me at Maker Faire at the door. And she worked with all the people, registration. So taking the money, and then also as people were leaving, thanks so much for coming. We really enjoyed having you here, blah, 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 right? So as she did that, she was hearing all these comments of people that were coming and going. So afterwards, she said to me, honey, I don't understand this event. I don't know why you did it, and I don't know why anybody would come to it, but the people that were there, they had so much fun, they couldn't wait to come back. If they were there on Saturday, they came back on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, Mom, you don't understand, but that is what I live for.
That's it.
That is what I live for. I mean, because my projects are my kids. Right. And so, that is my personal legacy.
By the way, Mom, you weren't the target market.
And she was not the target market.
That. That's why you didn't like it, and we're okay with that.
Exactly. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But she came back year to year too as well. So that was kind of interesting.
She became the target market.
She became the target market.
That's what good marketing does. You take the non-target market and you turn it into the target market. And that's very true.
Yeah. And that was a small price point. That was only $10 to attend that event. And my mother always got the first. I always bought my mother the first ticket to my event.
No, that's funny.
For every event I do, my mother gets the first ticket.
Oh, that's great.
So anyway, we've talked about the different pieces and parts of events, Darren. Is there anything that we maybe haven't touched on that you'd like to talk about? I mean, we've talked about sort of what we know is traditional media, and you talked a little bit about social, but that's sort of where we need to be thinking. Anybody who's planning on doing events, I mean, you just need to tap into social because it's so affordable, it's so flexible, and there's so many outlets for you to target to find your audience and then talk to them through. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that thought?
Well, I think that it's using social media is great as long as people are on social media. If they aren't, I'm like the person that goes, I don't do Facebook. I don't even know what Instagram is. I could care less about Twitter.
Right.
Okay, there's a massive chunk of people out there, and so if we just say, well, we're advertising on Facebook, well, okay, great, and I've got curtains on my house. I mean, like, who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
You better open your mind up to 1,000 places that the message has to go. Right. And if you don't know it, somebody else does.
Absolutely.
You've got to bring in your team.
Yeah.
It
can be so overwhelming that literally it is like I do it. I do it all the time. I mean, Darren has seen me happening in the last 24 hours, analysis paralysis, where you just think so much about what if, how could I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Then you shut down. Well, again, folks like us can help you tell your story in a better way. So
somebody walks into your office and say, hey guys, we're going to go through a 3-day music event in the park next summer, and so get on it and figure out how many as many people as we can get there.
Yeah.
And you've started a snowball rolling that is going to be huge at some point. Yeah. And the question is are you going to go down with the ship by trying to do it by yourself, or your assistant? Yeah. Or you're going to say, we want to make $25,000. We're going to spend $15 no matter what. So we need to have a $35,000 turnaround. Okay. Well, do you have a plan for that? No, not necessarily. So let's break it down. And that's what you do. You're like a general with a war scenario, you know? It's like troops there, troops there, troops there, artillery here, air support there, okay, and we'll tunnel there. So
I've never thought of it, but it kind of is.
yeah,
like
it's
that. And then something changes,
right.
And then you have to move, you have to adapt.
Well, yeah, the enemy moves.
Yeah.
The enemy moves, and they do something you don't expect.
Yeah.
In this case, the enemy is the fact that the T-shirts didn't arrive on time. So who's your backup T-shirt person that's 24 overnight?
Right.
And who's got that relationship?
Right.
Oh, she does. Okay, but that's what happens. There are so many moving parts that if you haven't done it 1,000 times, you're not going to see the one part that's not moving until, I'm full of metaphors today, until the car comes to a screeching halt and runs into a building.
Right.
What we do in creative production management and in marketing is that we see the problem long before it ever becomes a problem. I remember one time I was getting ready to have this 1,200 person event, and the parking couldn't support it. The place where we're going, there wasn't enough.
Venue 101.
There wasn't enough parking
Yeah.
to support it. Well,
Oh
and this is like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the event, and I kept walking around going, if we get as many people as we think we're going to get, we're going to have a major problem, and it's going to turn into maybe dangerous problem, because now they're parking on the side of the streets, they're walking from down the way, there's
potentially gonna be cold.
you don't even have a clue, and so it's like we needed another plan. And so I saw this problem before, thank goodness, 2 weeks before it happened, and thank goodness I did, because we had more show up than we thought. Went to 1,400. That's an extra.
Good problem.
Another 60 cars, basically.
Bad problem.
And so we did a shuttle. I created a dual shuttle system, and we only had to shuttle them about 4 blocks. But you're not going to walk in heels if you happen to have heels, or a stroller across on ground. You got to think through the littlest things. Okay, is there a way to get the strollers in without jarring the kids, like that?
Exactly.
Are we wheelchair accessible? Do we want to be? Do we need to be? Do we have to be?
Right.
The checklist is 17 pages long.
Right.
And
because literally, you don't even know this, but I've done a series of events on behalf of people with disabilities, and so you do have to make sure that they can come. The people that you're celebrating can actually come attend your event. Because they have so many challenges in transportation, parking, whatever the case. Yeah. And again, if that's not your life, especially in today's world, everybody's kind of, inward looking at the moment.
Right.
It's really, really important.
And let's put it this way too. Only so many organizations will need or will have monstrously big things,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely.
The majority of the people, right, or the majority of companies and individuals are going to have 4-hour events or one-day events. And it may not even be a public event, but it still has to be organized from a technical cameras, recordings, lighting, big screens that are where the LED TVs are, the way in which they are able to get power to all these things without messing it up, so the carts that are moving the food don't run across those.
Right.
And
rattle the glasses when you're having the plates while you're having a meal.
And sure,
Absolutely.
every convention out there or place where people meet is going to have one person there that's run 100 meetings, but they haven't run yours. and quite honestly, I will rarely ever assign full producing ability to somebody to take care for me at the venue. It's like, no, I'll tell you when it's coming, and then I'll come in and we'll watch it go in, and then I was like, I'm not letting this go. But that's the difference between if you're a marketing director or an events coordinator, you might be working on 10 events. So therefore, it's really good to have your number one general right there that is taking the charge, because I got a lot more stuff I got to do.
Absolutely.
But you're in charge of this deal.
Yeah.
You've got $10,000, and get your staff and your crew together, and that 10,000 is going to go fast, but it could go to 100 different places to make an impact.
Right.
That's that checklist we're talking about that you don't even know what it is.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
So to answer your question about the whole thing about moving parts and pieces and all that stuff, I would just say that you don't. They always say, don't have the same lawyer do both the sides of your divorce.
Yeah.
Don't have the same realtor sell and buy the house, the same house from the sell one that's and or yeah. And when you go like that, it's like also don't have an event, small or large, without touching base with someone like you. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Even if it's just a consulting for a couple of hours, we can add value to your event. Absolutely, no question.
It doesn't have to be a full-time, you're on the payroll. It could be come in and consult with us for a couple of days or a few meetings.
Yeah.
And after you have that consulting, that's when you're going to freak out and go, oh my gosh, okay, so could you just do this?
Yeah.
I kind of thought we were going there. After I tell people why they shouldn't sell their own home, and I give them about 5 questions, they go, okay, didn't know that. Didn't know that.
Yep.
Didn't. So could you just take care of this?
I mean, I'm a perfect example in that case because my dad's a builder, my brother's a real estate lawyer, his wife is a realtor, and I wasn't going to do it because I'm a marketer, right? And then as time went on and my energy was spent in other ways, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I mean, it cost me the commission. That's, whatever. But my house went on market and sold in 12 hours, and it would not have done that if it was me putting it on the market.
That's correct.
So in the end, by hiring the professional and quote unquote losing the commission, so to speak, ultimately that was an investment in my future and getting out of the house and not having to pay another month of expenses.
Professionals in the industry, you're a professional in event management, creation, and follow through, fulfillment. The whole 9 yards. Yep. Even preparing. Okay, so it's over right now. We're signing you up for next year, right? Kind of right. Yep. I'm a professional in mass media persuasion techniques, storytelling. What visual commands attention and why? Mm-hmm. What words make them turn their head? What phrases make them go? That makes sense. We got to try that. We got to go to it. We got to order it. But when you don't have that professional, that truly professional on that one thing, you don't even know how bad it's going to fail until it's too late. Yeah. They don't even know how much trouble they're in, right. And they've got 6 weeks left. Pshaw, we got plenty of time. Right. No, you're 6 weeks behind already.
Right. Oh, I got to tell a story where I was recently on a call with a prospective client, and one of the questions to me in the interview process was, what would you do when something happens? How do you respond to a negative situation that is going to pop up? And in my mind, I'm like, well, that's a silly question. And I'm like, because there will be things that are going to go wrong. There will be things that pop up. The question is how do you respond to it? How can you pivot? How can you correct the problem? You bring in the trolleys, for the parking. Mm-hmm. You have a backup plan. I mean, I remember one time we actually launched an event for the Fort Wayne Museum of Art as a volunteer. I did. And we were doing monthly, called Club Art. So it was the monthly engagement event at the Museum of Art for the young crowd. And
I went to it.
You were there. You were part of it planning that one, but you came to many of them. Our first goal, our first event, our goal was, 50, 100 people. And then 2 days before the actual first event started, we found out that the museum had decided to pull our $3,000 budget for a series of 6, which basically was our food budget, and we had to pivot. So I got on the phone and started calling people, and I called a restaurant owner who literally, they cleaned out their frozen department of their restaurant. And they brought it and prepared it, and we had food on that following day. Because there was a miscommunication is what happened between museum staff and the vendor. But anyway, again, so what do? Oh crap! Well, we got it resolved. Our first event, we had 1,000 people, and we had a fire code hazard, and we had to not let people in. So we're like, how do we do that? I mean, I'm focusing on food.
Something else too.
Yeah. So then the museum was, to your point, the museum was like, wow, she did okay with Club Art. And then they came to me and said, we want to do chalk walk or a chalk related event. And I'm like, no, as volunteers, we're doing 12 events. And plus I was working full time. By the way, I had a real job working in video or advertising agency. And so it was crazy town. And I'm like, no, we're not going to take on another event because we're all volunteers. I mean, we just don't have it in us. Right. And then my leadership role was a year. And then I stepped down and then I called back and I said, I'm going to do chalk. I'll get the team together. I'm going to do it. We created the largest chalk event of its kind in the nation in terms of the number of artists participating to this day. And we verified that through the vendor who sold us the chalk. So, and you know, that event, I haven't run it for a number of years. We did it volunteer for 5 years, and then another several years they actually contracted me to produce the event. And then they got a new director. He pulled it in-house because he didn't want to pay me. And he actually has written a testimonial from my website and has given me credit because the event has not generated as much revenue as it has since I did it. And our mission was not revenue. Our mission was exposure. But because it was such a good idea and it's such an integral part of the community, once it happened, even just one time, people were literally just giving us money because they wanted it to happen over and over and over. So thank you, sponsors. Thank you, Bill Bean, because you were my club heart hero. He really was. We couldn't have done the event without him.
Yeah, I just got a text that they're refueling my jet. I have to go very soon.
Got it. So I want to end one funny story because I think it's totally appropriate with that. And I introduced Darren as an actor, singer, talent, artist. Okay. Well, I didn't know this when I worked with him. I knew him as, Darren, my colleague, shooting video. So he told me he was going to be in a play. And our whole team went to support him because that's what you do in the video world. I mean, we are a family. Video people, you live, eat, work. I mean, you are family.
There's not much social life.
Our social life is our work.
Yeah.
And because we do actually go ahead a lot of fun sometimes, but it's hard work. And so we went to see Darren, and the first scene is him flying onto the stage as Peter Pan. And it was glorious. He was so it was really so good. He doesn't know how much I liked it. I just told him that yesterday.
I remember telling her when I told her I was cast as Peter, and she goes, "No way, get out of town. That's insane. No way.
It was so
Peter
funny.
Pan."
And he flew across the stage in little old Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it was brilliant. And then after the show, because that's what I do, he has to leave to go on a video shoot out of town. Okay, and he has got to get on that airplane and make that shoot because he's got a deadline for our clients the next morning.
Right.
And so, he's the star of the show, of the play, and he comes out of the green room, where people change, and the crowd is, and kids, "It's Peter, Mommy, it's Peter," and they're all excited, and they won't let him leave because he's an actor. He's, he likes talking to the crowd.
Well, no, like an 8-year-old's going, "Sprinkle fairy dust on me, make me fly." It's like,
I want to fly.
I gotta go.
And so finally I take him by the arm and I'm like, Children, Peter has to go fly away. He has to leave.
Literally fly away.
He has to go fly away. So literally, we got him out the door. Somebody picked him up, took him to the airport, and he literally flew into a production as Peter Pan. So I challenge any of you to do the same because that's something even I wouldn't do.
It was very tight on that flight. No, okay, thanks for sharing. That was awesome.
But it was so fun.
I know, appreciate it.
So, and today was fun, Darren. Thanks so much again. The fun part of this podcast for me is I get to interview friends I've met at events or through events along the way, which is just so much fun. I get to share all these great stories and remind ourselves of the hard work that we've done and how it does pay off.
But I'll just throw one last little thing in there, is that because of the background you have, there is a massive... All videographers are not the same. All copywriters are not the same.
Totally, 100%.
All IT people are not the same. There are exceptional people, and there are a bunch of people that just do it, and they're okay. But when you have doing something that is a big ass deal, that's not good enough. Right. So she asked me to talk for a little bit, but that's because I've done over 3,000 commercials, over 600 videos, shot around the world practically, definitely every other state in this country. But I've worked with some of the biggest names in the industry. Yep. I come in with a lot of experience that I may not even need to add to the pie because it's not necessary. But what I do bring in is a way to look at the big picture. Mm-hmm. And when you bring in good people next to you, that's the beauty in Jane, because she will be able to vet the people that are necessary on site to fulfill the dream and the goal. Right. Bodies aren't the answer. Yep. Picking a staff for a special event, that's the answer.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And it's so fun when you like you're watching TV and you're seeing a talent that you helped find from 20 years ago or whatever, and now they've grown up in their career and how they're doing, and that's prideful too in a way, because our talent selection, our choices,
Mm-hmm.
help them advance their career. So that's it's a different way of getting it forward for me.
Right.
So anyway, we want to, we need to wrap up today. Again, we need Peter Pan to be able to get on a plane and fly out of here. And but we do want your feedback on the show. And again, we're so appreciative that you came, whether you're listening today or viewing. These shows will be available online at businesseventpro.com into the future, in perpetuity, basically. And let us, come work with us. And again, we'll energize your vision and design programming and content to help grow your project and elevate your business and your goals. And that's what we're about here at Exit Zero Communications. Get the edge. Check back with us. We have more coming down the pike. There's really some cool things coming. In fact, we're getting ready to start an actual program where we'll not only be able to either consult with you for making your event better or creating producing the event from soup to nuts, which is really kind of my bailiwick in addition to consulting. But now I want to teach you all the things that I've learned over the last 30 plus years of being in the trenches, starting with video production. And I've been on both sides of the camera, so I kind of know both perspectives from, and being in talking to every kind of person in industry, from the person on the line to the CEO, et cetera. So come work with us. We can help you. Again, soup to nuts, consulting, and now the exciting part, we'll be teaching you. Thanks so much. Check back often. Until then, remember, strategic intention matters. Ciao for now. Thanks.
Bye.